Ladies and gentlemen, Combat Sports Live starts now with your hosts Jeremy Ridgway and Charles Crumpler.
Thank you, Thomas McHugh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Combat Sports Live. We are here in the studio today with, as always, is my partner Charles Crumpler. We're going to be talking about a recap of last Saturday's incredible fight card, UFC 113. A ton of great fights, very spectacular wins, some losses, drama, some hits after the bell, some guys getting fired all the way around. Just a great fight card all the way around. And speaking of guys getting fired, of course, we know that Kimbo received his walking papers. We're going to be talking about that. Later in the hour, we're going to be speaking with the guy that retired Kimbo from his UFC career. Mr. Matt Mitrione will be calling into the studio so that we can talk about what's next for him after a win over Kimbo Slice. Also, later in the hour, we're going to be talking with Caleb McAllister, who will be making his professional mixed martial arts debut. He is Lynchburg's first amateur MMA fighter to make the transition to professional mixed martial arts at a fantastic show in Northern Virginia called the UWC, the Ultimate Warrior Challenge. You know, the UWC is, as you know, Charles, is probably one of Virginia's largest regional shows. It's going to be a great, fantastic show up there. So we've got a lot to cover, so let's jump right into it. Let's talk a little bit about UFC 113, Charles. What was your overall impression of that fight card, of that show?
I was really excited of the result. As it turned out, UFC 113, one of my, favorites in recent memory. You know, Shogun got his revenge. You know, came in, took care of business, learned a few things, threw some heavy hands, and didn't let it go into the hands of the judges. I was really impressed by that. What do you think?
I thought a decisive first-round victory over Machida was exactly what was needed to dispel any of the clouds of doubt that hung over this light heavyweight matchup. You've got a guy like, Shogun. As I've been saying over the last couple of weeks, I don't think that the United States or the typical UFC fan has seen the potential that this guy displays. I mean, he comes out of a legendary gym, shoot box out of Brazil, where that has produced guys like Anderson Silva and Vanderlei Silva. This guy was a 2005 Grand Prix champion, has beaten guys like Rampage Jackson, and when
the rest of the world got introduced to him Saturday night, baby. I'm gonna tell you what.
That's right. I mean, he came to the UFC about 2 years ago with a lackluster performance, but he suffered with some knee injuries. He had surgery twice on his knees, and now you're starting to, I think, see the Shogun that we all knew was there. It was a great fight all the way around. Speaking of great fights on that fight card, we had Kimbo Slice and Matt Mitrione go at it. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that. And Kimbo, my heart bleeds for you, a guy that I have actually grown from utter just, kind of not liking the guy to becoming a fan. Of course, we saw his exit from the UFC organization with a loss to Matt Mitrione. And I know, Charles, that you're...
Kimbo, he came in ripped. He don't know how much skill set was there to do what Matt put on him, but what discouraged me a little bit, and I'm going to get off of Kimbo, is that it looked like he quit a little bit at the end. Matt had his night and was giving him everything that he had. It's kind of disheartening to see somebody kind of lay down and almost wait for it to end. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm sure we're going to talk about Kimbo a little more and some of the other fights, Jeremy.
Yes, we're going to be. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and we'll be talking about the upcoming fights this weekend. And round number 1, ladies and gentlemen, stick around for Combat Sports Live. We'll be back in just a second.